Well, hello, friends. So let's talk about setting inspiring goals, and this is I think, a really important part of motivation, and one that I have been just absolutely struggling with recently. One of the most difficult things when it comes to self motivation is clarity, is understanding where you're actually trying to go. And a lot of times we'll set a goal and then just not be motivated to hit it. A good example for this, for me, is that I have set the goal of losing about 10 pounds. So to set the full picture, recently I realized that my weight had gotten a bit higher than I wanted it to, and so I was like, I'm gonna lose some weight, and I set for myself a goal, and it was to get down to 175 pounds. I was closer to 200, and I thought this is too high. I was at like 195, and I was like, too high, too high. So I'm gonna lose 20 pounds. Well, I lost the first 10 pounds, and I got down to 185. And the reality is that I'm fine at 185. This is actually where I kind of sit typically, and I'll go up and down a little bit, you know, uh, between like 180 and 185. And I got to 185 and then just lost all motivation to continue losing weight. Literally all motivation. It just flew out the window. And it was like, nah, this is good, right? But that's not a decision that I made consciously. It's a decision that just I made unconsciously. And it took me 2 weeks of frustration of not losing any more weight after, you know, losing that first 10 pounds relatively quickly. It took me 2 weeks of frustration to realize that, oh, I have just lost all motivation for this goal. There is nothing about this that I'm interested in continuing. And so I'm not going to do it. And that was a bit of a wake-up call for me. A bit of a wake-up call. And it got me thinking about why I'm having so much trouble in my writing motivations. And honestly, in just motivations for a lot of things in life. Why am I having trouble, right? I have these goals that I've set. But when I stop to actually consider, do I want to achieve this goal? Do I care about this goal? How important is this goal to me? Is this something that's like, man, it'd be really nice if... Or is it something that it's like, no, I have to do this, right? I only have one option, and it's success. Well, it seems that recently most of my writing goals have been in the it'd be nice if it happens category, and as a result, hasn't happened. I have achieved very few of my writing goals this year, and my lack of motivation is a major culprit. So I want to talk a little bit about setting goals that are actually going to motivate you to move forward. When we're setting a goal, we want to pick the point we're aiming for, like this is where I'm trying to go ultimately. But then we want to start working backwards from that, setting smaller goals, right? Listing out everything that has to happen in order for us to get there. And as we do that, as we list out everything that has to happen, we're going to end up with a bunch of what are called benchmarks, right? Things that we have to hit in order to know that we're making progress. So, for instance, if writing your first novel is your goal, then a benchmark might be writing chapter 1, and then writing chapter 2, and then writing chapter 3, right? Those are benchmarks. You have to finish chapter 1 if you want to finish your novel. You have to finish chapter 2 if you want to finish your novel. But the reason it's important to do this is because finishing your novel shouldn't be your goal. That's not going to motivate you on a daily basis, right? It's too far away. It's too far away. Instead, what you want to focus on each day is an achievable benchmark. It's something that you know you can do in that day that will get you closer to your end goal. But in order to do that, in order to set a goal that you can actually make progress on, you have to know where you're going. You have to know what it is you're trying to achieve. For instance, if I'm, trying to write a novel, and then I set my daily goal at, writing a poem, those are two incompatible things. So I need to make sure that I have clarity of goal. Like, I need to know where it is I want to go so that I can start setting these benchmarks, so that I can start identifying the daily things that I need to do in order to get there. But then I need to do something else. I need to label all of these goals in a way that is actually exciting for me. And unfortunately, that means often that you're going to have to change your goal to keep it exciting. See, I've written a lot of novels, and writing another book isn't very exciting for me. Like, it's just not. And so I have to figure out ways to change what it is that I'm doing, change what I'm aiming for, to make sure that it stays exciting, to make sure that it keeps my blood boiling. And so I might say I'm finishing a series. I might say that I am writing a certain number of books in a year. I might say that I'm writing a book in a certain amount of time, right? All of these different things. But I want to try and label my goal in a way that's exciting for me, because I'm much more likely to continue pursuing it if it's exciting. For example, if I told you that it was our goal to build the most beautiful house that has ever existed, you would be much more interested in building it than if I told you we were going to build a house. And just adding that little bit of description, right? The most beautiful house is going to be more interesting, more exciting than just building a house. Now, obviously, that's a little bit of a silly example, but hopefully you can understand what we're doing here, right? We are using language to catch our imagination and to stimulate creativity. That's really all we're trying to do. We're just trying to label things in a way that will pull us forward, because we're more interested in doing the exciting version of it than the mundane version of it. But labeling something in a fun way is not enough to get us motivated. Most of the time, what we actually need to do is we need to make our goals smaller. We need to make them more achievable, right? We need that big, audacious goal, that big thing that we're striving for. And then we need to make all of our daily goals as small as possible, right? We need to divide it up into as small sections as is reasonable, and then we need to make sure that we are hitting those things consistently. So again, I've used this before in a video, and I have a whole video on this where I actually draw it out. So you should go and watch that one if you're interested in more on this topic. But not only do we set a final goal and then benchmarks, like the things we need to achieve to get there, but then we take each of those benchmarks and we break that down and we say, okay, what do I have to do in order to hit this benchmark? And those become our daily tasks, right? The things that we are actually going to do on a daily basis that will get us to the benchmark. And then as we complete the benchmarks, we get closer and closer to having finished our ultimate task. But again, we need these tasks not to just be boring. We need them to be exciting. We need them to be motivating, right? We want them to be inspiring. The sort of thing that makes you sit up and go, oh yeah, I'd really like to do that. The sort of thing that when you look at it every day, you say to yourself, oh, this is actually something that I would like to spend my time doing today. Like I said, this is making my tasks inspiring is something I've really been failing to do. I haven't been thinking about my work in this way recently, and my work has suffered as a result. When you think of what you're doing in just sort of this routine, rote way, rather than approaching it with curiosity and creativity, it just becomes a drag and you don't want to do it. So whatever task is in front of you, let's try to figure out how we can inject some creativity and some curiosity into it. The best way to do that, in my experience, is to just make sure that it is actually inspiring. It is something that when you hear it, makes you perk up and go, yeah, I really want to do that. I'm really curious about that. I'm really curious to see if I can do that. And then finally, a really good way to make sure that your task is inspiring is to talk to other people about it and see their excitement. Humans are social creatures, and we are designed to reflect emotions, right? We're designed to reflect the environment around us because that helps with social cohesion. And so one of the things that you can do is you can actually hack that by going and telling somebody else about the things you're excited about. And if they can get excited about them too, then you'll find yourself even more motivated, even more excited to do it. This is one of the reasons a good writing community is so wonderful. Bad writing communities are bad because of this reason, right? They suck all the life out of you. You don't want that. You want a good writing community, one that's going to encourage you and motivate you to really push forward. But using this natural inclination to mirror, we can actually increase our level of excitement around a goal just by sharing that goal with other people and having them get as excited as we are. So the question is, since I have been failing in my self-motivation, specifically around setting inspiring tasks, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to spend some time rebuilding my task list. I'm going to reset my ultimate goal, what it is I'm trying to achieve. I'm going to break it down into benchmarks, and then I'm going to break down those benchmarks into individual tasks that are going to help me get through. If you have any questions about any of this or any thoughts, any suggestions on how you motivate yourself around your tasks, let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.